Got a good old-fashioned light show. Got a radio station.
The radio is playing and the lights are basically like turning on with the music. It's awesome.
I like to put on a good show, kind of like the Griswolds.
He has to climb onto the roof like he got all the way up there. The lights are hung all around the house.
I added the stripes on the roof. We added new jib-jab videos. It's something different that I've always wanted to do.
Which are pretty cool, and it's basically dancing to the music.
A lot of lights.
A lot of lights. A lot of lights.
If you know how many lights you have up there,
1,000 million. Too many to count.
you don't have enough.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I have no idea. I keep buying them and just keep putting them up.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Some go out and you have to fix them. You lose count.
13, 14, 15, 16.
We got a software called Lightorama.
I guess you take special chords
16 different channels. Each one is on a different channel.
and it links it up somehow to the radio.
You can make that channel do what you want it to do. When you want these lights to come on, then these lights come on. So my wife works hard on that. She helps me with the software and the computer stuff a lot. I'm the crazy one that gets on the roof and gets nuts, and she has to help me put it all together.
And you have to get up on the chimney.
You got to get all the lights up to the top on a big, big, big ladder and hold on. Pretty much. I'm dangling up there a lot, so I don't recommend doing that. My wife doesn't like me doing that, but I feel like we're the Griswolds of the neighborhood. I love that movie, and that's what I've always wanted to do.
Real nice, Clark. That is nice. So that's the Mercado family.
They're down in Antioch.
Yeah.
And they've developed a real reputation, especially in their neighborhood. But there's folks that drive, just like any home, any of these homes.
Yeah.
They're starting to get a reputation. All of these folks have been doing this for a couple of years. And, you know, cars drive by every night looking to see what's going on.
I always kind of know the houses in the neighborhood that you will be there. And I'm sure yours has been that way for many, many years. That's got to be kind of fun.
It is.
Did you grow up doing that? I mean, what?
No. This just all started after the children were born, later on in life.
Right.
And, I've always been a person that loves Christmas and the Christmas lights, and it's just a lot of, that's our Christmas. Is
To be able to do that.
Yes.
That's pretty neat.
It is.
Charlie, what's it like seeing these year after year? and I mean, you've seen so many houses and you videotaped and met so many really wonderful people. And I love the story, and you've got to share this, Mr. Wright, also about your relationship with Charlie, since he's been shooting these for so long.
Well, ours is okay.
No, I mean, it's great. I love it. I was saying during a commercial break how you guys are like, you've become pals on this.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen Charlie through the rain many times, videoing these lights, and I told Amy, I said, you know, it would be great to be able to see Charlie one more time out here, and look forward to seeing Charlie with doing the lights. He does a great job.
Well, Charlie is an Emmy Award-winning photojournalist. We all love working with him, but you have a really great way of interviewing people and interviewing grandchildren and everybody that's out there and making them all feel really special. So you do a great job, you know, in and of itself. But it must be fun to meet so many people who have this passion.
Oh yeah. And I always enjoy meeting folks that are really they're into what they do. They're very interesting because they you know, it just takes hours. People just, that's what I look at when I see these displays. I'm looking at it and going, gosh, that took hours to do. Like, that took days and days and days to do. And I'm just in awe of how much time and effort and it's not just putting them up. It's also maintaining.
Right.
It's taking them down. I ask every single one of these finalists, I said, well, because I always think of it in my terms, and I'm thinking, man, I don't have room for, you know, stuff at my house. I wouldn't know where to put all of this.
Right.
Like
what
at your home.
What do you do?
At our house, you have a permanent steps out of the garage that goes up to a completely floored attic over the complete house. And from the rafters with big nails, they hang in certain places.
Wow.
Getting ready to be worked on for next year, which we start working on them in February up there. We have work desk with power, we have music, we have chairs where we all sit. You should have heard some of the stories that comes out of that attic.
Yeah, I want you to videotape that. That would be I'd love to see that. That's like your little workshop, like all the elves are up there working on these things all year long.
Well, not all year, but we start in February. It's warm in the attic most of the time. Most of the time. But they're up there, 2 or 3 of us at a time, working, changing thousands of lights.
Wow. That's fascinating. That is a commitment. You're exactly right. Hey, Marilyn, go ahead. You're on the air. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to talk with the winner. Sir, I just want to commend you and your family. Your persistence and all the work you do, I do it on a much, much smaller scale, and I do mine mostly by myself because my children, they're not really into it. But I was going to ask you the question about where you store it, but you answered that question. But I just want to tell you that I believe you and your wife are Nashville's Claus and Mrs. Claus.
I appreciate that. That's a great honor. Thank you.
Sir, you're doing such a great job.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Marilyn. That's a sweet call. Yeah, you're Mr. and Mrs. Claus.
Oh, we have a neighborhood paper, and one of the headlines year before last is Mr. and Ms. Claus have arrived in Copperfield.
That's very nice.
So, and it tells about it. So we've done this. We also we actually do the front entrances and the rear entrance to this subdivision.
Oh, do you really?
And
wow.
That's a real hassle.
That's a challenge.
We do it just because we want to. There's no money involved.
Right.
And we do have to buy new lights for that every once in a while.
Right. I wonder if neighbors sometimes say, okay, this is the neighborhood where, Mr. Wright does his big display, so we've got to step it up a little bit ourselves.
We've noticed considerable more lighting houses in the neighborhood since we've started this. Since the limousines and the tour buses and the trolley buses,
I bet,
and the regular traffic comes through, a lot of people are decorating their house a whole lot more lights.
Well, especially I'd go see the grand prize winner, and you're right. If I'm living next door, I better do something. That's interesting, though. And all the limos now that drive around, and the trolley buses.
Right.
We know the limo drivers by name, and they all ask me, "Why is your wife not out here?" Because she is the talker. She loves to talk to people, and that's great. I'm fine with that because that means I don't have to do as much of it. But the neighbors, we've got great neighbors. The doctor, the retired doctor and retired nurse next door, has got the ditto sign in the front yard. He didn't.
I love it.
He didn't want to decorate. So we got the ditto sign with an arrow pointing toward our house, and it gets a lot of comments, good ones.
I bet it does.
And I do have to tell you that if you get in the car and drive by Mr. Wright's home, you don't want to mess up and only go, because you're going to go around, you may go to the back side first. There's as many lights on the back of the house.
Right.
And you don't want to go by there and think that's it. You have to there are more lights on the back that you can see from the back of the home than there are on the front. So you got to make sure you don't miss the front because you think, well, this is it, because there's as many on the back as there are on the front. And I don't show you the back.
I want to come by and see that. Hey, we have Vicki calling in. Go ahead, Vicki.
Hi. I just wanted to tell Mr. Wright that I'm so proud of him to be a third-year winner. I worked Holiday Lights for many years, 19-year employee, and all of the people who enter are wonderful folks, and it's been a pleasure to work with all of you.
Now, Vicki, you say you've worked the lights. What does that mean?
Well, I work for Metro Beautification, and I would organize the lights.
That's awesome. What do you? What's your best part of doing that?
just meeting all the people, coming out and seeing their homes and meeting them and talking with them and just seeing their enthusiasm for Christmas and all the light shows. It's awesome.
You've met Charlie, obviously. That's
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
that's
Charlie and I are pals.
That's not one of the good parts.
well, there's always that one burnt bulb. Vicki, thanks for all you do. That's awesome. I'm glad you've been a part of this for such a long time. Go ahead, Mr. Wright.
Charlie, keep up the good work because I've retired.
Yeah, well, I saw Vicki last Friday.
Yeah.
Vicki, we want you to come back to work. You can come out of retirement, you know.
Oh, I don't know. I think 43 years is enough for me. You keep up the good work, and Charlie, you do the same. And News Channel 5, keep up the good work, and I'll just keep enjoying you.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you,
It's a
Vicki.
great phone call. Thanks so much. All right, you've got another house. Talk about the next house. Capley, is that correct?
The
ma'am?
Capley home.
All right.
Yeah, they're in Madison.
Okay.
And they are also a former finalist, as was the Mercado home.
Okay.
So those two homes have been finalists in years past.
Okay, and now, you know what? And before we get to the Capley home, we've seen two now that have the radio thing, and I'm like the little girl in that story that we last saw. I don't know how it works, but
Right.
it works. So a lot
Right.
of people are doing the whole music thing.
Yes, and it's kind of nice because before what you'd have to do is you drive by, you have to roll the window down
Right.
because they would have speakers playing and you know, like if another car goes by or something happens, you know, you might miss part of the music in the display. So now you leave your windows rolled up, leave the heat blowing if you need the heat on in the car, and listen to the radio and watch the display, and it's all tuned in and put together and programmed so that the lights do things to the music.
I know I sound like an idiot, but I don't even know how that works. How do you even have a low frequency radio, signal coming out of your home?
It's just a little transmitter that you can buy, and it's always in a certain frequency range.
Okay.
And you can only hear it, within maybe not even a block radius.
A couple
It's
hundred yards, probably.
Yeah. And
But that's cool.
Yes, yeah. And then now the Capley home doesn't do that. They have music, but
Okay.
it's a speaker. So this would
Yeah.
be the more traditional thing you'd hear, but that's the latest, that's the newest thing.
Talk a little bit about their home, because I think we're going to see their story in just a second.
Yeah, the Capley home is it's in Madison, and it's on Ronnie Road, Ronnie Road, right? And the thing about his home is that he probably has the largest yard of any of the finalists we're going to see, and his yard is just it's got lights and display everywhere.
Okay, let's take a look.
Well, we just have a lot of Christmas lights. Been doing that probably about 15 years now, and we just keep adding every year. This year we've got a couple new blow-ups. There's Minnie Mouse and her house over there. The biggest thing we added this year, we had friends give us a reindeer and sleigh. The Rudolph and his red nose, it's on the roof this year. Usually we start on the house putting the lights on the roof. We can start doing that before the yard has to be cut for the last time.
This is the best one I've seen for the past week. We've been out every night, and this is the best one. I like all the characters. Minnie Mouse, Tigger, they're just amazing. There has to be at least 1,000 lights out there, at least.
1,000? That's maybe up one side of the driveway would be about all that would cover.
I'd say close to 50,000, probably more.
We don't even try to count. I have no idea.
I've seen it around the corner, at least half a mile.
This is outstanding, actually. I like it.
We have thrown away probably a dozen reels of lights this year. To sit there to try to figure out why they don't work is too much time. My wife always wants more, so that's probably the biggest thing.
That's not true.
She'll come home from shopping after, day after Christmas. There's boxes in the back,
It is a family idea.
new blow-ups or
He's just as bad as I am when we go after Christmas.
this or that sometimes.
And he got a sleigh and a reindeer for next year already.
The nativity set, those blow modes we've had for a long time, and that's, I guess, the one thing that I like the most.
Like if something's messed up, I usually go tell him without me fixing it, so I don't have to do the work.
It's an every afternoon thing to see what needs to be done.
I've always wanted something on the roof.
It's a work in progress.
And so I finally got Santa and his reindeer.
According to Theresa, we can add plenty more. I was hoping to be done, but we're not yet.
that's great. Big yard. Is that a big? I bet that's a challenge.
A good sized yard. I bet he has a 1/3 acre of land, and a lot of the front. I mean, those arches go all the way from the front of the driveway all the way down to the back.
And how are they done?
Little tip for folks at home: that's PVC pipe, and I've seen that done many times.
It's the small PVC that's flexible.
Yes, you can be flexible. You drive 2 stakes into the ground. You hook it on both sides. It's actually not as hard to do as some things you might do. The other thing about this is that a lot of these displays, the tree in the last display, it's homemade. You can't buy this stuff anywhere. He does the same thing. He's got PVC pipe that he's made of different lengths. The larger one is on the bottom, and it's 2 big metal water pipes that he's welded together or fashioned together, and then he extends the lights, and then the PVC pipe gives it its tree shape.
Okay.
And so that water pipe keeps it up in the wind, which is the biggest weather problem. We do a story about the rain, but the big weather problem for most of these displays is the wind. And so they fashion this themselves, and the arches are the same. He's got PVC pipe, and then what you really have to experiment with is how long to make that PVC pipe so that it will allow you to drive your car into your driveway without clipping both sides. So you have to. That takes time and effort, but that's how that's done. And
really, just like a little thing of rebar can.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But that again is an experiment, because I've talked to many finalists who said, well, the first year I put it in. I got rebar that was this long, and when I tapped it in, it wasn't long enough above ground so that it wouldn't flip off. So you have to make sure it's long enough, extended, and deep enough into the ground to hold the physics of it, to keep it from going the way you don't want it to go.
Yeah.
So but they're all very. It's not just that they're creative in terms of the lights. They say, okay, this is what I want to have the look of.
And how can I make it work?
How can I make that happen?
That's very cool.
And so there's as many on these displays, there's as many things that are homemade, that are designed by that homeowner, as there are things you buy in the store that are cool and different that will look great in your yard.
Yeah.
And I find that all of these folks do both of those things. The one thing I do find that's interesting is that now CD knows his wattage and all that stuff, and he's put in an extra electric panel, which some of these homes do. Wow. But I do find that's the one oddball thing, is that I do run into a lot of these finalists that say, well, I just keep plugging them up till I blow a fuse. They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue how much, that does happen. And you'll run into these finalists and go, well, I tried to put on a little, and now my fuse box couldn't handle it. So yes, there are those.
For some reason, 37 cords, strung together doesn't seem to work.
Who'd have funked it?
All right. Hey, we have to take a really quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll show you Mr. Wright's house, the overall winner, in just a moment. Stay with us.
Yeah.